Hello, welcome to the Gab and Juls show. I'm Jules. This is... Oh, no, Gab. He's not here with me. He's in Stuttgart. I'm here at the Skyline Spaces office in Berlin, kind of East Berlin. Lovely area where we are recording the show while we are here in Germany with Gab. But Gab is in Stuttgart. Gab, because you were at the Germany-Hungary game last night.
That's right, Jules. I left you there on the banks of the river Spree at Scaling Spaces, the co-working space. I myself, I'm here. I was at the old Neckar Stadion, now the Mercedes-Benz Arena. I watched Germany become the first team to advance to the knockout round. I was against Hungary, not to be taken for granted, because of course Hungary, really good record against Germany of late. Much sterner test than Scotland. They came through at 2-0, deservedly so, deserved win. But Jules, they had their scary moments as well.
Yeah, I thought especially, the start of the game, after 30 seconds, they had Hungary kind of like burst through, and there was a bit of a misunderstanding between Kimmich and Rudiger Tah over just a long ball. And it almost created a big chance for Hungary. I just thought, especially in defensive transition, that's where maybe Germany looked the most vulnerable. And I thought Hungary played well. They were well organized again. In the end, Germany are a much better team, especially when they had the ball. Gundogan, Musiala, especially, we will talk about him after, Toni Kroos, of course. But I think you agree with me on those transitions where maybe Germany at times will have to be careful.
Yeah, and I think the transition especially is where you get kind of the good and the bad of Toni Kroos, because last night, I think even more than in the Scotland game, we saw him, when Germany have possession for these long spells, he becomes essentially a third center back. He just goes over to the left-hand side, and because Hungary, for whatever reason, decide not to press him, he sits there. He's like a quarterback behind a really strong offensive line, simply going through his reads, right? Yeah. Getting, receiving, or like a point guard if you want. That's great and all, and he can pick out passes, and he helps Musiala and Gundogan, be really good in this game. Wirtz and Havertz, on the other hand, quieter. But on the flip side, yeah, when they lose the ball in transition, it is an issue. Obviously, Toni Kroos' mobility isn't what it is, and probably what it should be at this age, or if you're going to play that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, to see the passing range again yesterday in that game was great. And again, I agree with you. I'm not really sure why there was not like a plan Toni Kroos from the Hungarians, but they still played well, like we said. We saw Kai Havertz being taken off very early after 57 minutes and looking quite bemused when he saw his number on the board.
Yeah, Havertz and Florian Wirtz both coming off. It's interesting. Look, I think at that point, Germany did look to me like they were firmly in control, although they did concede another late chance. I think it was more to do with the fact that they weren't getting anything done. Yeah. And so then the question, do I want to continue down the same range? He brought on Sané and Füllkrug together. So you've got Sané who can, give you that verticality that maybe Wirtz wasn't giving you, and he can give you the crosses. And of course, the big man Füllkrug.
I mean, I thought the star man was Jamal Musiala again, not just on the goal. And to be fair, let's be honest, it's an easy goal from a player like him. Gundogan does a lot of the hard work, and then it's a finish that you expect him to score. To score back-to-back goal at that age for his first Euros is impressive. But overall, even if sometimes there's maybe a little bit of doing it too much on his own, trying to dribble, some difficult stuff, he's still been outstanding in Germany. Again, one of Germany's most key players in that game.
No question about it. He's sort of kind of built this for Musiala and Wirtz. And as long as one of the two shows up, again, Wirtz really struggled, I thought. I think they're in pretty good shape going forward. The issues, I think, are going to be elsewhere in this team.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I guess the last game against Switzerland, where, by the way, if Switzerland wins, they go top of that group. Germany have 6 points. They're guaranteed to qualify. Switzerland have 4 points. We'll talk about that draw against Scotland later. But if Switzerland manage to beat the Germans, then they will have 7 against 6. They will top that group. So that game against Switzerland is important for Germany too, to secure top spot in the group. And also, because even if Switzerland were maybe a little bit disappointing against the Scots, it's probably the biggest test so far for this Germany side, for Musiala, for Wirtz, for those defensive transitions that we mentioned, for the defense. It'll be a very interesting game.
Yeah, no question about it. It is a banana split. And look, a lot of people don't like this format, but I think what it does mean is Germany cannot just pack it in the final game. They want to finish top of the group. If anything, for seeding purposes.
Gab, watching on television, obviously you were at the stadium yesterday, watching on television, it looked like the atmosphere was great. Where I was watching it, loads of Germans everywhere. It seems that really, we saw it against Scotland, but it's really picking up now all that support. We saw yesterday and we wrote together for the website something that the German players, the ones in the squads, where they were born, they've changed the names of the train stations in those cities of their hometown to put their name underneath, which is a nice touch. Although, as you reminded me, for Jamal Musiala, who was born in Stuttgart but hardly lived there in his whole life, really, it is a bit strange. But anyway, so you could feel that passion. You see shirts everywhere in the streets, etc. I guess the feeling within the stadium was similar.
Yeah, no question about it. And really, I think in the streets, I really feel like Germany were ready for this kind of competition, for this kind of tournament. What's been equally interesting is obviously there's a lot of immigrant communities here in Germany. Germany's very easy for a lot of people to get to. Yesterday here at Stuttgart, the center of town, obviously there's a ton of Hungarians, but also a ton of Albania fans, I guess, who had come down from who had been watching their game against Croatia, going through the streets. It's all been really, really painful, really peaceful even, really good-natured. And I think they're very good at, making people feel welcome, putting on tournament. That is one thing I think that Germany's really gotten right. I mean, at least here in Stuttgart, comparing it to a big city like Berlin, where I was before, this really feels like the World Cup is on.
Yeah, I agree with you.
There's the Euros even.
Yeah. But yeah, it's that kind of vibe, and you would expect it. It's a massive football country. You could tell. There's no doubt. We will talk about Hungary and especially Szoboszlai in a little bit. But just to finish on Germany, you mentioned at the start that Nagelsmann kept the same starting 11 than the one against Scotland. I've got no issue with it. He was happy. This is also the same one that played back in March and in the friendlies as well. Is there a risk, maybe, Gabi, at some point, even if he makes early substitutions? We saw that in the Scotland game because they'd won the game, so he could rest players and they didn't need to play more than, for some of them, an hour, for example. And again, against Hungary, maybe more this time by the fact that he was not too happy with Wirtz or Havertz, hence why they came off early. But is there a risk maybe that he hasn't really tried anything else? So what if there's a game where either somebody's injured or somebody suspended or something like that? I'm not sure. Even if Fulkrug could be another number 9, of course, even if Zani is another option on the right or on the left, all of that. Do you think he was fine to use the same starting 11 for the last 4 or 5 games and not trying something maybe a little bit different from the start? I mean, not just during the game?
I don't have an issue with that. I think he wants to show face to these players. Remember, we've said this before, this is not a team that's necessarily going to have a lot of natural chemistry, right? Because you essentially have 3 number 10s, right? Yeah. Musiala, Wirtz, and Gundogan wanting to play number 10. And also Havertz doesn't mind dropping off, or that is part of his skill set. He isn't doing it so much because he's asked not to do it. So, there is potentially a lot of congestion in that space. You get the timing right. And I'm guessing this is why he's kind of gone for that setup. There's also the adjustment to make because, Toni Kroos isn't really playing in central midfield.
No, you're right. Yeah, it's much deeper.
What he's doing is he's playing as a sweeper when they have the ball, right? Like Augenthaler. So I think he wants to give as much time as possible for the pieces to adjust around that. In terms of switching it around, you mentioned it there. If I bring in Fulkrug, very different player from Kai Havertz. If I bring Sané, very different player from Wirtz and from Musiala. So I think he's giving himself that option with those substitutions. But I agree. This does seem to be there is a very clear hierarchy between the starting 11 and the guys who come on. You can add Pascal Gross to it if you want. Gross may be the only guy, maybe the guy who would substitute Kroos. If Kroos has to stand up. But again, Kroos, I figured out, Jules, he played 53 games this season in 10 and a half months. He played more than 3,600 minutes for Real Madrid in Germany. That is a lot of wear and tear. And he comes in the large economy side.
Yeah, and he ran more than 10 kilometers in the last 2 games. So even if you can say, you know, he's playing that quarterback position and he's quite deep, maybe, but he still puts a lot of effort in.
Yeah, because he has to go and he has to go and do those recoveries as well for the fullbacks. He doesn't cover the ground very quickly, but he does cover. Yeah. He does get around. He does cover the ground. He does get around the pitch. No question about it.
So let's talk a little bit about Hungary, because we mentioned the Germany-Switzerland game. There's a lot at stake, that top spot in the group, which is massive. So it'll be a great game. But also in the other one in that group, the Scotland-Hungary game, both of them, you would think with a win, they get to 4 points. Sorry, Scotland will get 4 points, can qualify with 4 points. You would think Hungary need a win after the 2 defeats, and with 3 points might still have a chance to qualify. So both Scotland and Hungary have to win anyway, which would be good. One player for Hungary that has to carry them then and has to play better if they want to win that Scotland game is Dominik Szoboszlai.
Yeah, no question about it. I think he's kind of largely been absent from this tournament, and I think that's kind of been disappointing. I think for Marco Rossi. You know, he kind of tailed off. I don't know if you agree with this, Jules, but I feel like he sort of tailed off in the second half of the season a little bit at Liverpool as well, right?
Yeah, definitely.
He's playing in a more advanced role here, which I thought would have actually suited him. And it just, I think even in Germany, he did not seem, even again, the Germany game, he did not seem as dynamic on the press. He would have been a logical guy, at least as I see it, for me to go and engage Kroos when he was on the ball, right? Or engage Gundogan when he dropped off. Because look, in Germany's build-up, it's not that complicated, right? It's either Kroos can pass, Kimmich can pass if you involve him over on the right. I suppose Gundogan can if he drops way deeper than he has been playing. But otherwise, you know, those are the 3 guys you need to worry about. I'm not going to worry if Antonio Rudiger is on the ball, right? And that was kind of missing. And I don't think it's just missing because it wasn't part of Marco Rossi's game plan. He was missing because I don't know if Szoboszlai was quite as fit or as engaged as he normally is. And I think that's something that they're going to want to get right. They're going to need to get right against Scotland.
I agree with you. Massive game for Hungary coming up against Scotland. Big game between Germany and Switzerland. We will talk a bit more, obviously, about them in the next few editions of the Gab and Juls Show.
All right, enough Germany. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
France down Austria 1-0 in their opener thanks to an own goal from Maximilian Weber. Jules, the big news is Kylian's broken nose, and we'll get to that, I promise. But how did he look to you otherwise?
Likewise, so in the sense that this is what we expected. Really, this is what this team is good at. And Deschamps said it to the players after the game in the dressing room. He said, this is that collective strength that we saw in that game, how good they were together as a team, the structure, the discipline. Yes, it's not sexy football, but we know that it's never been sexy football under Didier Deschamps anyway. But that collective strength, like he said himself, is their DNA. This is what they do. And they did that again against a really good Austria team. I thought that was physical, that was strong, that made them work hard. But in the end, I thought the French were really good. The XG is over 2. They could have scored more, should have scored more goals, even if they got a bit lucky on the own goal, of course. But I thought there was a lot of good things. Maignan, Saliba, and especially N'Golo Kanté. 33 years old, hasn't played at that level for 2 years, and he comes back with a game like this. Incredible performance from him. So overall, a lot of positives to take, I think, from that win.
I was just happy to see Saliba out there. Magic Mike,
great save.
Downs, I thought, but
he makes the save against Baumgartner.
He's going to get better.
Yeah, massive save.
He's going to get better as the tournament goes on.
On to Kylian's nose. There were reports that he was going to have surgery. Well, we were not sure on the night. In the end, it looks like he might even be back at some point for the group stage, Gab.
No, there were reports on the night. Jules, you don't know this. I'm going to let you in on this. I was on the FC show, and several people out there were definitively saying that he was definitely going to have surgery, that the French FA had told people that he was going to have surgery. And then I look at my phone and I see the text of you, the WhatsApps of you communicating with our editors and saying, no, they're going to decide tomorrow. Yeah. So when I'm asked this question on the air, I said, no, Jules is reporting. I trust Jules.
Oh, thank
Jules
you,
on
my
the spot.
friend.
And so far, no surgery, right?
No surgery for now. It might be
We're gonna
later
get the
down.
mask, yeah?
Not now. But we're hoping he can be back for the Poland game.
But is he going to borrow Victor Osimhen's mask?
Or the Ninja Turtle mask, which is obviously...
Is it going to be Victor Osimhen's mask?
The meme that has gone viral as well is the Ninja Turtle one. We see a lot of great players have played with mask and have been great as well. Like you mentioned, Osimhen, he was probably better with the mask, Osimhen, than he was before he had the mask on that season. So, I'm still very, very optimistic that Kylian will have a great impact on this tournament.
Spain and Italy kick off in a few hours, Jules, but in the meantime, we get some wild last-minute heroics in that group from Albania.
Incredible.
Who snatched a draw at the death against Croatia.
Yeah, incredible, Gab. I love that game, the 2-2 draw. I thought Albania, from our boys, Pablo Zabaleta and Silvinho, played really well. Again, the collective strength, some of the ball movement even was really good. And for most of that game, we were disappointed again by Croatia. I tweeted during the game that Brozovic, Modric, Kovacic, together, the three of them, had 375 caps, 375 before that game against Albania. The whole Albania team, starting lineup, 373. So even just the Croatia midfield had more caps and more experience than the whole Albanian team. And yet, Albania were the better side for most of, especially in the first half. No. And after that, they snatched that draw, and I think they deserved the point. And you saw the reaction of Silvinho and how much he meant to him and the players. I was really struck by late in the game how Croatia needed to go and double up on Hosha like he's some kind of Ronaldinho. They were really, really rattled at the end. Yeah. Doesn't really change much, no matter what happens, really, for in the Italy-Spain game, which you're going to, of course, and I'm not, because ultimately Croatia will need to win their final game to advance. Yeah, against Italy. That's right. Another Italian manager, Gabi, Turkey and Vincenzo Montella get off to a flying start with a 3-1 win over Georgia. Gab, the Arda Guler is a bit special, isn't he?
I thought you would like that finish for the second goal. To be fair, Jules, the first goal, Mert Mulder as well. Wow. What a finish. I have to say this. Look, Turkey are a really, really young team. I think they're the youngest or second youngest team in this tournament. But this was not a comprehensive win. There were ups and downs. Georgia, I thought, were really, really impressive. Georgia, the lowest ranked team in this competition. They had a number of chances that forward, the guy from Metz,
Mikotadze,
who used to be it. And he could have had a hat trick at one point. So there's stuff for Turkey to work on defensively. But man, they're young guns. Kenan Yildiz, Arda Guler. That's really exciting.
Game of the tournament for me so far, outstanding, really, from the two teams. And maybe the game that you would have thought, is it going to be that good? Actually, was outstanding. And like you said, the two best goals of the tournament so far, I guess with the Shaqiri one from last night too, right in there with Arda Guler. But what I prefer the most about Arda Guler, Gab, the goal is great, no problem. But it's that defensive tackle that he made at 2-1, him in his own box to deny Georgia a second goal and to go 2-2. So amazing, amazing game, amazing performance from Arda Guler.
Jules, we're not done. We got more quick hits. A late goal from Francisco Conceição gives Portugal the win over the Czech Republic, or Czechia, as they like to be called now. Jules, as I see it, this is all about two guys. Roberto Martinez, or Roberto Martinez, as Augie calls him, and Cristiano Ronaldo.
I think you're right, Gabi. I mean, let's start with the win for Portugal. They didn't play great at all in that game. They conceded a goal that was far too easy to score from an opposition point of view, but at least they showed character to come back late, even on mistakes, two big mistakes by the Czechia defense. So that's the first thing. The second thing, you're right, it's a lot about Roberto Martinez, first of all, because his tactics make no sense whatsoever, certainly at the start. The Cancelo positioning, somewhere in midfield, somewhere not. Nuno Mendes as a centre-back. To have Bruno playing quite deeper, no Palhinha. So really, they didn't have any defensive-minded play, because Vitinha can play as a holding, but he's not as defensively minded as a Palhinha, for example. Rafael Leao on the left-hand side, crossing the ball for nobody. So there was a lot of things that didn't work. And even when Martinez made some changes, going to a back three, there was still a lot of things that didn't look right. Bernardo Silva on the right-hand side. So there's a lot of things we can do. We could do a whole show probably on that. However, I thought Cristiano was good. I don't think he was dominant like some people said. I don't think he was bad like some people said either. He had this genius back heel, for example, for Vitinha in the first half. That was a great moment. But then I think he was the victim of the bad choices tactically, especially from Roberto Martinez.
Yeah, it did feel really, really weird seeing that. I'm all for guys who want to do things differently. I just don't know that the opening game of the tournament is the time to do that because it looked like they'd never tried this before.
I agree with you completely. And speaking of Cristiano, Gab, there were concerns, and rightly so, about the fitness physically of the players who are in this tournament and who play in Saudi Arabia. Cristiano, Conte, Mitrovic, Milinkovic-Savic, etc., etc. But both Cristiano and N'Golo Conte looked like they were pretty sharp.
Yeah, and I don't know why this should have been an issue because, look, these are older players. The season in Saudi feels like ended like months ago. I know it wasn't really months ago. And also, I don't know. What does N'Golo Conte do in Saudi Arabia other than train and look after himself and I presume pray occasionally? Yeah. No, I'm not surprised these guys come back and are in top physical fitness at all. My boy Ciccio Calzona and Slovakia down Belgium in what is probably the upset of the group stage. Juls, you're going to blame the other Italian coach in this game?
Well, to start with, I'm going to blame the Belgian players themselves because I think this is their own downfall, this defeat. Jeremy Doku, who takes far too many risks so early in the game and gifts Slovakia a massive chance to what they end up scoring from. From Lukaku to Trossard to Doku again to Bakayoko to De Bruyne, they had enough chances, they had enough of the ball, they had enough good positions to come back in that game and not lose it, and they did. So yeah, Tedesco could have done a few things differently, some of the substitutions or lack of, I was a bit surprised. But overall, Belgium on another day should win this game. And in the end, they end up losing. It's their third defeat in a row, if you count the end of the World Cup and these Euros. That never happened in big tournaments before for this national team. So a lot of things to sort out. The good thing for them, I guess, is this is still a weak group. So even starting with a defeat, they can still beat Ukraine, they can still beat Romania and still qualify, of course. So it's not all gloom and doom. But that was not a good start, obviously, to lose a game like this. Staying in that group,
need my Yuri Tielemans in games like these.
I know. I agree with you. Staying in that group, Gab, Romania destroying Ukraine 3-0 was also a bit of an upset.
No question about it. I mean, look, Romania, obviously, you've got the cult heroes like Stanchu, Dennis Mann, who I'm assuming you're a huge fan of because we've been hearing about him since he was 16 years old. And his career just never really went anywhere. But it could get happen. He's not old yet.
No, yeah.
This was really emphatic, Jules. And like Ukraine are just so many big names. Maybe not the super powerhouse that the names would have us think they are, but man, I expect your veteran players to step up. The guys who've been there, who've done it. You know, Yarmolenko, Zinchenko, so many guys. Mudryk. All right, Mudryk less so because whatever. But Sudakov, had a good shot. Other than that, very intermittent. I think there's an issue here where Sergei Rebrov, I don't know if he's the problem, but he's not part of the solution.
Yeah.
And, players coming out and saying, oh, we let Rebrov down. Part of that is you being a coach and kicking their backsides and making sure they do not let you down because this was big. They had all that home support.
I agree.
Scotland bounced back from their opening day humiliation against Germany to hold Switzerland to a 1-1 draw. And Jules, they also hit the post late on with a magical Jan Sommer save too.
Yeah, I mean, this is Scotland back to what they're good at, really. That intensity, the physicality. Okay, with the ball, not so good, and they score a goal and they got a little bit lucky. The Scott McTominay shot was deflected by Fabian Schär when Jan Sommer would have had the ball and would have caught the ball. So they got a bit lucky on that. But then they fought hard. They lost Kieran Tierney to an injury. Poor guy was in tears. This is a massive blow going into the third game that they have to win against Hungary to hope to qualify. But apart from that, the rest was far more what we usually see from them under Steve Clark than obviously what we saw against Germany. So well done to them for the reaction that they showed. Well done to them to still be alive. And really, that they were they wanted to be at the start of the tournament after the draw. They knew that if they could be in a position to qualify after the first two games against the two toughest teams in the group, then facing Hungary, which is a bit more of their level, then they will be in for a shot to qualify, and they are. So well done to them to show that reaction and the character. And now, historically, that would be historic. They've never qualified ever for a knockout round of a big tournament. Never at the World Cup, never at the Euros before. If they were to do it this time, it would be historical, of course. It would be something very special.
Massive.
Manchester City were hoping to sign Savio from Girona. And Manchester United were looking to try to sign Jean-Claire Todibo from Nice. However, Gab, both those deals look like now they are in jeopardy after UEFA saying that they could block them.
Yeah, look, it's strictly speaking, it's not, UEFA don't have the authority to block transfers. International transfers are a FIFA matter. And obviously, Savio, I think technically he's on loan at Girona from Troyes.
Yeah.
But I think what's happened is UEFA have said, and they've been very open about multi-club ownership and kind of allowing it, but they said, look, this year we've got these transition rules in place. We're going to scrutinize related party deals very, very closely if the two teams are the same competition. And in the meantime, we're going to work on longer-term legislation. And I think essentially City United, they don't want to take a chance on this, and that's why these deals are sliding by. Ian Maatsen is reportedly on his way to Aston Villa from Chelsea after the clubs agreed a deal of between 35 million and 40 million. Juls, are you surprised he didn't stay in Dortmund?
Well, a little bit maybe, but maybe not so much either. Villa also in the Champions League. I suspect his wages will be higher there than at Dortmund. Maybe just a little question mark I've got is that Villa could get Samuel Ling Jr. from Juventus in the Douglas Luiz McKennie swap deal. Plus, they've got Luka Ding already, and they've got Moreno as well at left back. That's a lot of players in that kind of position. But hey, I'm not the sporting director there. The Times report that Manchester United have agreed personal terms with Everton's Jared Branthwaite, but that £45 million bid has been rejected. Gab, how much higher do they have to go to get him?
I think they'll have to go substantially higher. I also think he's going to run because, of course, Everton could have new owners very soon. The Friedkins. Marco Rose, see what I did there? Has extended his deal with Leipzig to 2026. Juls, makes sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. I think overall it was a good season from them. A bit inconsistent at times in the league, especially, and we saw being able to be great. I know they finished fourth. I know that's true, but also because Stuttgart were incredible, and then Bayern and Bayer Leverkusen, okay, above them. So yeah, you're right. They should not maybe be behind Stuttgart. However, I think you saw something good there being built with Xavi Simons, with Openda. Don't forget, new players as well in key positions. So I think he deserved that.
I love these little one-year extensions.
Yeah, that's true.
It seems to be the new thing.
And also, you expect more from him and them and the club and the team next season. So let's see. The pressure is on, without a doubt. That Douglas Luiz to Juventus deal rumbles on, Gab. But now it looks like it won't be Weston McKennie moving to Aston Villa in the other direction.
That's right. Look, I know some people don't like the idea of players being viewed as commodities and stuff like that, but this is exactly what it is. Now, the deal now, so Alicia Lehman, who happens to be Douglas Luiz's girlfriend and, of course, is a striker for Aston Villa, she's going to move to Juventus regardless if Douglas Luiz moves. Now, the counterweights for Douglas Luiz in the deal, it's still going to be Samuel Ealing Jr., of course, but Weston McKennie has said no. He hasn't been able to work out a deal with Villa over his salary. Of course, Juventus were offering him an extension. It's not quite an extension. They're offering him a pay cut.
Yeah.
I guess Villa not willing to offer him as much money as he would have wanted. So now they stuck Enzo Barrenechea in there. And again, for those who are not familiar, Enzo Barrenechea he's 22. He was at Frosinone on loan this season. It seems like they're just chucking in players, and this really feels like it's a bit of an accounting move for all clubs. I hope Weston McKennie and the many Weston McKennie fans in the U.S., the ones who always remind me, well, Weston McKennie played the third most minutes on Juventus last season. They don't mind that his status as a throw-in in a deal has been replaced by Enzo Barrenechea, who I think, frankly, most people have never heard of. Paris Saint-Germain, some help at the back, maybe? Gerd Schreuder being linked. You like that?
So I'm a big fan of Gertruda, somebody who can play, is that kind of centre-back who's really good on the ball, who can step into midfield, all of that. We've seen him doing that with the national team, for example, under the Dutch guy. Is it what they need right now, considering the centre-backs they have? And Gertruda can also play right back, by the way. I'm not sure. They wanted and they still want Lenny Yoro, who is obviously highly coveted this summer by Real Madrid, by a lot of English clubs as well. So maybe they know they're going to miss out on Yoro. I would much rather have Yoro than Gertruda. But if you can't have Yoro, then if you get Gertruda for a good price, I think there's a really good player in there that offers you a different profile to what you have, and that I think will suit and fit Luis Enrique's philosophy. So I'm gonna say yes to Gertruda if it happens, Gab. If there's a possibility, for sure. Rafa Marin, who's
I
one.
think it's all to the price.
Yeah, for sure. Rafa Marin, who's one of the players that you really like, Gabi, could be on his way to Napoli from Real Madrid.
Yeah, Rafa Marin does this me. I mean, in fact, when Alex Kirkland and I did our Real Madrid Keep Dump series, we suggested he should be the heir to Nacho in central defense. Homegrown, was at Alaves on loan last season, had a really, really good campaign. But no, it looks like he's going to go to Napoli. It's only a 10 million euro deal, but this is the crucial part here. Real Madrid have what they call the recompra on him, which means that they can buy him back at a fixed amount. And I don't know what that amount is, but interestingly, I think with Real Madrid and doing these deals are kind of like loans that generate money, except you don't have to take the guy back. If I'm Real Madrid, I would probably set the buyback at 20 million, 30 million, something like that. And so if you're Napoli, you're not going to say no because you're getting him at a very good price, right? And you'll get some nice money back if he does well. If you're Real Madrid, you're getting a good price for a player. You're getting 10 million in, which you can use to help pay Kylian Mbappe's enormous wages.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
And you're getting a guy now. It's a win-win. To me, the signals, though, is they still need a center back. It can signal one of two things. Either Nacho decides to stay, which I honestly hope is not the case, frankly, just for him, or they're really going to make a push for that center back they want, and could be your man, Lenny Yoro, has been mentioned left, right, and center, of course.
Yeah.
Jules, I remember way back on this podcast when you first introduced me to Ryan Cherki. He was 16 years old. You told me he's more precocious than Camavinga, who, of course, made his debut at 16 in Ligue 1. I cradled a dream to see him play for Italy one day when I discovered that he had some Italian blood in him. Now it's not going to happen. Fair to say, it's taking a while for his career to take off, but now he's been linked to Paris Saint-Germain too. It's just because he's young and French.
Well, they've always liked him. Luis Campos has always been a big fan of his. He's got 1 year left on his contract, so they offered 15 million euros for a transfer fee, which obviously Lyon have rejected. If Lyon don't want to let him go, I think they would like ideally to extend his contract, keep him maybe another year, and then let him go the following summer, next summer in 2025. We will have to see. His agent is obviously Kylian Mbappe's mum, or that team around the Mbappe clan. So it'd be very interesting to see. He's so talented. We all know that. Right foot, left foot. I mean, how many players right now in the Big Five leagues takes corners with both feet? I think he's the only one, really. So it's just incredible talent. But like you say, his career hasn't really taken off because there's a lot of inconsistency. There's still games where he's anonymous too much considering his talent. So it will be a bit of a gamble for PSG. But if it's a gamble at 15 million euros, maybe 20, I'll take it. I'm ready to take that gamble and see where that goes.
Wait, his agents is the Mbappe clan?
Yeah.
But aren't they in Paris Saint-Germain suing each other over his unpaid wages and stuff like that?
God, you've been in this game long enough. You've been in this game long enough to know that when you need someone, even if you are not the best friends, you still make it happen. Gab, remember the 3 Valencia fans who were prosecuted for racially abusing Vinicius Jr.? Well, they are now been sentenced in a Spanish court.
Yeah, I think this is an underreported story. I think this is a really important story. They've been sentenced to 8 months in prison. Now, they're not actually going to go to prison because in Spain, like in many other countries, if you're sentenced to or if you're convicted and sentenced to something to custodial term of under 2 years for non-violent crime, you don't actually physically go to prison. But this will be on the record. They're now going to have probation have to explain, hey, look, the 8 months that you were sentenced to. Look, this is what a lot of people want to see, right? There's sporting justice when players get racially abused, and you can ban individuals from stadiums, you can fine clubs, and then there's actual criminal justice. And in Spain, this is a criminal offense. The first time the law has been applied, hopefully it can be a deterrent.
Yeah.
More of those ever popular 1-year contract extensions. Ruben Baraja gets one at Valencia. I love Baraja as a player. Yeah. I love the fact that he's been he's called in to save the club he loves from Peter Lim, who's still there. But it's cheap and cheerful, right, Jules?
Yeah, I'm a club legend, as you said, Gabby. And when he came in at the end of the season before, the last one that just finished, he saved them from the drop, as you said. And then they finished 9th last season in La Liga. Considering the very difficult environment, that there's no money, he brought a lot of players through, and they did really well for him. So I think he's that kind of manager. He's still young in the job. He will get better. He will grow. But there were a lot of positive signs. So it makes sense for him to stay a bit longer and then see where he's at next season, next summer. Leicester City are close to naming their new manager too, Gab, and it looks like it's a battle between two contenders, Graham Potter on one side and Steve Cooper on the other side.
Yeah, so to me, these are two completely different people, right? They play different football. They have different approaches. They have different styles. They look very, very different. Yeah. To me, this shows a lack of clarity in terms of Leicester City, in terms of what they want to do. Obviously, on paper, Graham Potter is closer to Maresca and the system that they played last season. They may not be doing it this year. Or maybe it's all misdirection. Maybe they just want to keep just confusing everybody by talking to both of them. But really, there's only one guy they want. I don't know. But when I see this and they're all over the shop of the candidates, I'm thinking, do you really have an idea here? I don't know. Former Juventus and Arsenal boss, Joe Montemurro. Is he the best Australian manager out there?
I knew you were going to say
Big Ange. I don't know. That's a question. Anyway, he's the new coach of Lyon's women's side. Jules, right choice by John Textor. Can we play? We didn't even mention John Textor in the Ryan Shirky bit. Can we mention John Textor now?
But as you know, I told you before, it's not him in charge of the Lyon women's team anymore. It's Michel Kang, so.
But it's still his club. He still pays the bills, right?
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't run it, but it's still his club.
No, the women's side is not his club. This is not. He doesn't have to do anything with the women's side. But you're right. Maybe he would still ask, hey, do you fancy Joe? He would have never heard of Joe Montemurro before. I can guarantee you that. So I'm not sure if JT, our friend JT, has any influence on this. I think it's the right choice. It's a lovely, lovely guy. He's clearly a good coach too. I think Sonia Bonpastor has left a big void to fill because she was so good and so close to the players and obviously very successful with Champions League and Champions League finals and league titles, etc., etc. So he's inheriting an amazing squad. There's no doubt, the best one. They're about to poach the best player in the league from PSG as well. So they're going to get even better and stronger. So it's an amazing job to get. The pressure is just that you have to do as well as the others before who did so well because they just won everything. So let's see if he can do it. It's a really good project for him. It's also a big challenge. According to reports, parts of the Premier League trophy have been stolen, Gab. What is this story about?
Yeah, so if you can picture the Premier League trophy, there's like this, there's a crown on top, and then there's like a base. And you can detach the crown and the base from the trophy itself. And it's the crown and the base that supposedly have been stolen.
No way.
How serious is this? It's not very serious. It's not very serious for several reasons. So first of all, they don't just, they make 2 Premier League trophies every year. One that they give to the team that wins it, and the other one, I guess, that they keep lying around. I don't quite know what they do with the other one. Apparently, the crown and the base were stolen from when it was on tour somewhere. I think it might have been in Belgium or whatever. But what struck me was the Premier League trophy is insured for £250,000, right?
Yeah.
That's around what, $300,000, give or take. Does that sound like a lot of money?
Yeah, but if it's real gold or something, it's expensive, no?
It's probably the value of the actual gold rather than the trophy itself. I mean, I'm assuming they're just going to melt it down.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is it's not like when the Jules Laurens cup was stolen and the dog found it in the back garden. I mean, they make these new ones. They make a new one, 2 new ones every year. Move on. Michy Batshuayi won't get to play with Jose Mourinho, Jules. He's moving across town.
Wow.
To Galatasaray.
Wow, just wow. I mean, you know, if you move from Celtic to Rangers, if you move for some from Fiorentina to Juventus, I mean, you know, we know who. And now you move from Fenerbahce to Galatasaray. I mean, this is amazing. And just imagine the reception that he will get next season from Fener fans, where he did really, really well, by the way, in the last 3 years, I think he was there for. When he will get there and play on that pitch with the Galatasaray shirt on, it's an incredible move, I think. And again, we know Michy quite well together. It's not surprising that he's like, me moving to the biggest rival, the arch enemies. Yeah, I'm all for it. Let's go.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Raul Sanllehi is the new co-president of Inter Miami, our old friends. Gab, you can never have enough former Barcelona people at the club.
Yeah, I don't quite understand what he's going to do. I mean, Sanllehi's had an interesting run. Obviously, he was at Barcelona. He was at Arsenal for 2 years, where it's safe to say he had some good bits and some not so good bits, then left the club. He's a football administrator, but administering in MLS is very, very different because of all the complicated rules with designated players and salary caps and stuff like that. So, yeah, you can bring in more ex-Barcelona players, but, you know, you already have Busquets, Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba, and somebody else whose name I can't remember. Anyway, so I don't know. Is he there to babysit those guys? Is he there to hang out? Is he going to be co-president? I don't really know. I don't fully understand what his role is going to be. MLS is a different animal, but clearly there's a lot of institutional memory, a lot of historical links with Barcelona, especially the old Barcelona before this one. And look, I think he's a smart guy. Maybe wasn't the right fit when he was at Arsenal.
Yeah.
But he can bring a lot to the table. Mats Hummels wasn't called up to the Euros, of course, but he's still training, Jules, and he's sharing his training sessions on Instagram. And he chose to train in a Greece shirt. Any significant? Is it where he's going on holiday?
Well, imagine when I saw that, I thought, okay, Panathinaikos is going, or Olympiacos is going, or maybe he's there on holidays, you're right. He just said that it's difficult to find a football shirt that doesn't attract like rumors and stuff. Like, I guess, I don't know if he'd worn an old, like Bayern Munich shirt, for example. People thought, oh, okay, maybe he's going back then, or that they need him. Or maybe a PSG shirt because he loves the PSG shirts. So I thought he picked Greece. But remember when David De Gea, who's still training on his own, by the way, for a year now, was training with in a basketball NBA shirt. We were like, well, what's the point of that? At least I prefer Hummels. At least he's training in a normal football jersey.
I don't know. If you're in the gym, do you need to train in a football jersey?
No, that's true. No,
I don't know. That's up to you.
Yeah,
we like Mats Hummels anyway.
Gab, you were at the Germany-Hungary game yesterday. We said that before. And you have some strong thoughts of what happened when the home fans trying to start the Mexican wave in the stadium.
Yeah, look, I don't want to come across as sort of grumpy, no fun pundit here, okay? And I have max respect. If you pay your ticket, if you want to sit there, you want to do the wave, that's absolutely fine. But what happened, although it's not to my taste in any way, shape, or form, let me make that clear. But what happened here was at 2-0, there's like 10 minutes to go. And the Germany fans start doing the wave, and it goes around the ground, and about maybe a quarter of the ground was just made up of Hungary fans. And as soon as the wave gets to them, they don't do anything. They do not
they're
participate
losing. They may be not in the mood.
Absolutely. But then the Germany fans boo them for not wanting to do the wave. It happens once, twice, 3 times. And I'm like, guys, read the room, right? You do the wave when it's a joyous collective thing. They're losing. They're potentially on their way out of the Euros. And you're going to make them bad enough to do the wave, but then you're going to make them feel bad because they won't decide to participate in your nonsense.
I mean, I agree.
I would have loved it. The shoe was on the other foot. They were 2-0 down. And then the Hungarians had started the wave. Let's see how many Germans would have joined in that
that's so true. Because when I was at the Spain-Croatia game, there was obviously far many more Croatian, like 40,000, 50,000 for only 10,000 Spaniards. And the Spain were 3-0 up, so the Spaniards started doing the wave on their corner. And then obviously they were doing it, loving it. And then when you arrived to the Croatian, they were like, come on. As if we were going to do that when your team is battering us 3-0. So I can see exactly how the Hungarians fan felt.
Yeah, right. They also, come on, Spanish fans, you should know better.
Exactly.
No way from you. Come on, man.
Exactly.
Jules, that brings us to an end. Thanks again to Scaling Spaces for the co-working space that are hosting us on the banks of the Spree. I will be back there in Berlin very soon. Never you mind. Until then, love the game, love your neighbor, love yourself.